Okay, Justin,
Yes.
I think you can perhaps start. Let's kick off the webinar.
Okay, doke. Good evening, everybody. Hello and welcome to the Stratfin uh, Financial Medical Tax discussion. It is geared for parents, specifically parents of Edu360 this evening. And it is my pleasure to welcome Ilan Rabinovich to tonight's call hosted on his platform. He is the director of Stratfin with over 20 years of knowledge. He is the right guy for us to talk to this evening. Tonight is all about making connections. It's about getting the help, getting the advice that will lead us in the right direction. It's about starting a conversation to save money, to save your money. We've got quite a few staff members on this call. Good evening. Welcome this evening. And of course, we've got parents. Good evening. Thank you that you could join us. We will be recording tonight's conversation because there has been a request by two members, even the two parents this evening, for a recording to watch tomorrow or later in the week. Guys, without wasting any more time, over to you, Elan. I just want to say that Edu360 is really pleased to have this conversation. We know that there is a need to save money, especially in this market. And for the last 5 years, Edu360 has been having accounting type qualifications, conversations with SARS, and tonight, a medical tax discussion to get the best value for you, our clients. Over to you, Alan.
Thank you very much, Justin. And hello to everyone out there. I really appreciate the fact that you came to listen to us, and hopefully we can learn something together and that you can get some tremendous value from tonight's webinar. I just want to thank my team for putting it together, Jade and David and Dovi and the rest of the team. And I just want to say that I'll talk a little bit about Stratfin and who we are, but we've got a really excellent team, really passionate about saving you money, saving you tax, the medical refunds, and we're really here to help. Myself, I have a child who's also neurodiverse, and I've been through many of the scenarios that you've been through, and I claim the medical tax benefit. Without it, I would get back from SARS perhaps 15,000 Rand a year on my medical. Now I'm getting 80,000 Rand plus extra, which is really incredible. And that's without even claiming any special school. So with Edu360, you can actually potentially get a very big refund from SARS. SARS specifically helps families who have somebody in the family with a medical condition, but we'll talk about it. Our title for tonight is called Stop Missing Out on Medical Tax Refunds. We're going to talk about who can claim, who qualifies, how much you can get, and how we can help you. Okay, let's kick off. So a little bit about Stratfin Solutions. So I'm the director and one of the founders. It's a company that's really passionate about saving people tax, as well as companies, and specifically in areas that people don't know that there is a saving. We help with education savings on tax, home office, travel, and many others. And specifically tonight, we're going to be talking about the medical aid tax refund. I would consider ourselves experts in unlocking hidden tax refunds. And one of the ways that we differentiate ourselves from other people is that there's really no upfront costs when we are saving you tax. We usually base our fee on success, and but that's something we'll talk about during the course of the presentation. The nice thing about that is there's no risk on your part. So we can help you. And if we save you tax, then we would charge you. And if we don't, then there's no charge and no risk on your side. Okay, so I'm going to kick off with a little bit of theory. It gets a little bit hairy in some areas, so I'm going to keep it quite brief. Suffices to say that SARS gives a taxpayer in South Africa, somebody who's paying tax, a medical aid tax credit. That credit is split into two parts. There's the Section 6A and the Section 6B. If you are on a medical aid, then automatically, okay, this is a medical aid, not medical gap cover, medical aid, then you automatically get a Section 6A benefit, and it's approximately 300 Rand per person on the medical aid per month, and that is your credit, and there's nothing really we can do about that. It's a fixed amount. However, the magic happens in Section 6B, and that's where you have an additional expenses. Okay, that would be, let's say, for example, your medical aid premium. If you have school fees for children who have neurodiversity, such as in your case, or there are out-of-pocket expenses, we can get a credit from SARS if you qualify under Section 6B. Okay, so I'm going to keep the theory very brief because it is very technical, and we can get into some of those discussions afterwards or with our team directly. Okay, so I mentioned that you can get an amazing credit from SARS or let's say a refund if you qualify. So what are the qualification criteria? So if you have a medical condition in the family, so this could be one of the parents or one of the children has a medical condition, and that medical condition lasts for more than a year, more than 12 months, and that condition is either moderate to severe. Okay, it needs to be moderate to severe, and that medical condition is in the following 6 categories. So the categories are intellectual, vision, communication, physical, mental, and hearing. Then you would qualify for the Section 6B at an exponential rate. Okay, what I mean by that is every single one of your expenses that you incur for medical, whether it's your medical aid premium or out-of-pocket expenses or even school fees to an extent, you can get a credit of approximately 33% of those expenses back from SARS. It's not in all cases, it's under most cases, as long as you fulfill the conditions. Okay, so if you think about that, that's 33 cents for every 1 Rand that you spend, you can potentially get back as a rebate or a credit, a tax credit from SARS. Now, within these different categories, there are a host of medical conditions. So, for example, under mental, there could be bipolar, there could be anxiety, depression, neurodiversity. I'm not sure it could fit under mental, potentially under intellectual, and we can discuss exactly how that will play out. We're accountants, we're not doctors or medical professionals or education specialists, but we know how to advise you on how to submit it to SARS. The actual condition will have to be determined by the doctor. Suffice it to say, again, that there are these 6 categories of medical conditions, and if your medical condition fits within one of these categories, and it's moderate to severe, then you can get onto the 6B tax credit at a higher rate, at the 33% rate. Okay. When you apply that 33% rate, which you're going to get a tax credit on, what can be claimed? Okay, so as I said in the previous slide, you can take your full medical aid contribution that you pay for your whole family. Okay. What's very important to know is that if you're paying a medical aid contribution for somebody else who is dependent on you, you can also include that medical aid contribution. So you take your medical aid contribution for your family, as well as anyone else's medical aid that you're paying. Could be a parent, it could be an adult child. You can then add the school fees of a special school to that. Okay, like remedial schooling, neurodiverse schooling, Edu365. And then in addition, if there's any travel expenses that are required between your house and the education institution, if it's more than 10 kilometers in either direction, you can add those expenses as well as any other out-of-pocket expenses. Those also can be added. For example, you might need facilitators or nurses or certain medical equipment that is not paid by the medical aid. We can also add those expenses. Once you start stacking all those expenses up and you multiply it by 33%, you can get quite a large amount. And then that will be a credit against the tax that you've paid, and you'll then be refunded by SARS for that amount. So just to give you an example, my mental arithmetic is not great, but let's say, for example, your medical aid is 120,000 Rand for the year. Your out-of-pocket is 30,000 Rand. So that gives you 150,000 Rand of medical expenses. Let's assume the school is another 100,000 Rand. So now you're up to 250,000 Rands worth of expenses. Multiply that by 33%, and that will give you a refund of 82,500 that you can potentially get back from SARS. So it really is a huge help for families. I know there's additional expenses, especially if there is a medical condition in the family, and SARS really has gone out of their way to help families. There are a few adjustments that need to be made, and we'll be able to discuss these. So that's not exactly how the formula works, but that's like a bird's eye view or an executive summary. The amazing thing that we do at Stratfin, okay, is that, and this is really, part of the magic that we help deliver, and that is if you haven't claimed or you've short claimed your credits that you should get back from SARS, we know how to go back to SARS and say, sorry, we never claimed in the past. We didn't know how to do it, or we weren't able to do it, or we didn't know, or we underclaimed. We can go back to SARS and say, we're really sorry. Please, can you consider a backdated claim? And in most cases, they do consider it. And in most cases, they'll go back up to, and sometimes more than 3 years back. So for example, if I mentioned that you'll be able to get 82,000 Rand back from SARS, we can go back up to 3 years, and then that will become almost 250,000 Rand, 247,000 Rand refund that you can go back and claim from SARS. So that's like a very unique approach that we have. We know how to do it. We're doing hundreds of claims, and and generally they are all successful as long as you meet the requirements for SARS. Another thing that we do, and that sets us apart, is that we try and maximize the medical claim that we put in for you. We aligned, so the higher the medical claim, the more you get, the more we get as well. And as a result, we try and find and ensure that you claim every single medical expense that you are entitled to, and that is a valid claim. Another thing that we do is we sometimes need to change who we claim the medical tax credit in whose name. Sometimes we might find that the one spouse, the father, is the main member, but the mother is claiming the tax, is paying for the tax, the medical expenses. So sometimes we have to split the claim. It could be in the one spouse's name for the school fees and the other spouse's name for the medical expenses or the medical aid. It all makes a significant difference in whose name you claim it. And another thing is we have dedicated account managers who help you. This process is very complex. I've been doing it for more than 10 or 15 years. We know exactly how it works. We know exactly what forms you need. We know exactly what SARS is asking and what he's looking for. We know what sets us apart is that because we're doing so many, we know like what's new, the new questions they ask, whether they'll accept this doctor, not that doctor, whether, for example, educational psychologist can sign off on mental or whether it has to be intellectual. There's so many different things that are going on in this claim. And if you don't get it right, especially the first time, then it's very difficult to go back and do a request for remission and a notice of objection and a notice of appeal and an ADR to really, we really fight for you to get this tax credit. As I said, we're very passionate about it and we want to win. We want to get that money for you. We streamline the process. As I said, each one of our clients gets a dedicated account manager who will essentially get everything online to you through WhatsApp, through Google Forms, speak to your doctor, be in touch with your accountant if you have your own accountant, liaise with everyone, and just put the whole package together. So number one, saves you so much time. Number two is, you're in good hands with the experts. And then number three is we try and do it as quickly as possible for you. And then we're also able to analyze your taxable position and see what we can claim from prior years. And if you're maximizing it now, many parents don't know exactly how to maximize their current claim based on their expenditure. So what we're going to be doing is taking questions now. You are welcome to put them into the chats and then I'll read them and try and answer them. We suggest is, take action today. To get a backdated claim, we can only go back a certain limited amount of time. So each day that passes is potentially a whole year's of credits that you might miss. So it's not really worth it. Average claims are between 50 to 150,000 Rand. Just yesterday, one of my clients got 250,000 Rand. I think you got 250,000 Rand, which was an incredible refund that he got. Every single day we are getting credit back for our clients. As I said before, you don't have to leave your current accountant or your current tax practitioner. The way that e-filing works is the profile and all your information is very, very fluid. We can take it over for a couple of days or weeks while we're working on it, and you can get your accountant to take it back. We help with the current claims as well, and you are in full control of your profile. and that's how it's been set up. I think I've covered most of what I wanted to cover tonight. I'm going to take a look in the chat and just see if there are any questions. And then perhaps if anyone wants to, I don't know if you can unmute yourself, I'm not sure. If anyone wants to ask any questions directly. Okay, first question that I have tonight is, what does Stratfin charge? Is their monthly fee? So um, we charge 20% on the additional medical tax credit that you get. So, for example, if you're going to get 20,000 Rand, but based on the work that we did for you, you got 60,000 Rand. That's an additional 40,000 Rand, and our fee would be 20% on that 40,000 Rand. It's on the additional medical credits that we get for you. Next question. Does this apply only to people on medical aid? What about health insurance if there is travel involved? So, good question. It applies to people who are spending money on medical expenses. So, in the beginning of the talk, we discussed there being a Section 6A and a Section 6B. If you're on medical aid, you can get access to both of those credits. If you're not on a medical aid, okay, you're on medical insurance or on no medical plan, but you still are spending money on medical expenses. You're seeing doctors, you're buying medication, and maybe your children go to a special school, then you can still get the 6B benefits, okay? And that will still be at 33% if you qualify. So certainly, even if you are not on a medical aid, you will still qualify for this benefit. Okay, those are the open questions. I've got one more that just came in. I'm an unemployed stroke survivor. My son has been neurodivergent since birth. I've tried to claim from SARS disability for my son, and since I lost my job due to the stroke, the accountant who was assisting me failed to claim, saying that I was unemployed. Okay, it's a difficult situation. So as I mentioned, that this medical benefit is called a medical tax credit, and you can only get it under certain circumstances. One of the circumstances that you can get it is if you have paid tax to SARS. So you're paying PAYE on a monthly basis, or you're paying income tax or provisional tax. So you've made payments to SARS. SARS will then assist you by giving you a credit on that payment. And if you're entitled to it, you'll get a refund. Okay. So if you're not paying tax, if you're unemployed, then you would not be entitled to get this medical tax credit. Unfortunately, that's just one of the things that SARS is helping you by reducing your tax, essentially. It's not a grant that they are giving you. Okay. Next question. The 3 years back that we can claim, does that include 2026 year, the current tax year that SARS is going to be opening in July, August, September? So it is slightly complicated on how they work out the 3 years, but suffice is to say that it is 3 years back from your last assessment date. So we can go back, depending on when you submitted your tax returns, we can go back to 25, 24, and 23. Okay, so if the tax return for 2023 was assessed and the date of assessment is within 3 years of today's date, then we can go back to 23. If the 2022's tax, the date of assessment, is still within 3 years of today's date, then we can go back to 2022. So the rule is, okay, is that we can actually go back if you're late in your tax return submissions. But you take it 3 years from the last submission date, and if that tax return assessment is within 3 years of today's date, we can submit for you. Next question, does dyslexia fall under communication in 6B? And if so, are costs related to facilitators like human readers deductible and all related support or therapies? So, personally, I'm not a doctor. We have those 6 categories. If the treating doctor signs it off as being one of those categories, I'm assuming it would be either under mental or intellectual, and that doctor is qualified and is treating, and it is considered moderate to severe, so it's impacting a person on a daily basis, then certainly we can claim it from SARS, and we can also claim all the costs that are necessary and related to that disability or medical condition. So that would include the human readers and all related support and therapies. And I think we've concluded all the questions.
Ilan, if you
Just
don't mind, can I just say something quickly?
yes.
So, hello everyone. I'm sure it's very clear now, but Ilan is the CEO and the founder of Stratfin, and he is the magic behind what happens at Stratfin. So, just a huge thank you to you, Ilan, for coming on and for giving such an informative webinar to the parents of Edu360. I think it's hugely beneficial to all of us who have kids who are neurodivergent and who really can benefit so much from what we have to offer at Stratfin. And I just wanted to thank Justin, the principal of Edu360, for giving us the opportunity to connect and collaborate with you guys and to, get to know your parents and to help them in the best way that we can. I did post my WhatsApp number on the chat. But if you don't mind, Justin, I'm very happy for you to share my WhatsApp number with your parent body, and anyone who wishes to get in touch with us and to, get the help from Stratfin. We really are here for you every step of the way, and we are ready to help you. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Jade. Thanks, Ilan. I will add your contact details to our newsletter. Newsletter goes out next Friday. So we'll make sure that everybody gets that. And Jade, you may have missed, there are 2 parents just before starting here that have asked for a recording. And I'm aware already yesterday and before that, where parents are asking for recordings because they can't make it this evening.
Definitely.
The only thing I would like to add to tonight's presentation is really information that is useful to our parents. A lot of the language that Ilan used today, it's medical language. And the medical language is very different to the educational language, and it's also very different to government speak. So, and just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, Edu360 is classed by the government as a disability school. Special education needs falls under disability. Why do they use such an awful word? Well, they use that terminology because that's how they allocate their funding. It's to do with their budget cycle. But as you know, dealing with us at Edu360, and from what Ilan has said, the terminology is important, and the terminology defines what you'll be eligible for, and it's in the context of what SARS is saying, which is linked to the government. So it's the government terminology. So it sounds really hard and dry, the language, but unfortunately, that is how it is presented, and that's how we comply, by using the right language. So I just want parents to be open-minded about that. Of course, when we're in parent circles, educational circles, there's a lot more forgiveness and there's a lot more ease of use of the terminology. It's far more accessible compared to the government terminology. That's all I wanted to say, Jade. Thank you, everybody. Good night from me.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah,
Good night.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Don't be scared, parents, about this terminology. As I said, we are here to help you every step of the way. So even if it's, no question's a silly question, you can WhatsApp us and we're there for you. Thank you all so much.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.